Hi everyone, it is Mama Radha. How are you all doing today? Things are doing good. They're looking up. And certain things are just a process that we just have to work through. So I'm very, very grateful and excited and preparing to go away for a few days coming up soon, and I really need it, so I'm very, very happy about that. So I did want to put a video out that I promised I would do, and it's a very important one because, we're human, even if we are traditional or submissive women. We are still human and we're still women. So we are very much kind of pushed to and fro and battling our emotions and our feelings all the time, and certain times worse than other times. So I was talking to a sweet gal about just how there are times where, we've been hurt in the past, and we can carry those hurts into our present. And when our husband's trying to lead us and he's been working really hard and he's doing everything that he's supposed to do, those old feelings come back and they haunt us. They make us feel some kind of way. And then we find ourselves wanting to react and respond as if those things were still a current thing. And our husband is left feeling quite upset, unappreciated, bewildered, frustrated, and just like he can never make us happy. That's not good. So, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I've certainly dealt with that, experienced that. I have to keep those things in check. And it's interesting because since I've had some pretty serious things going on between extended family and our daughter and all this and that, when you have things that are like life-threatening situations going on, all of a sudden some of those more fanciful, imaginary things that are going on in our heads as women, because we seem to be thinking all the time, and we just let all kinds of thoughts go in our head. When those more serious things happen, it gets our attention away from some of this nonsense that's floating around up there, and all of a sudden we go, oh man, you know what, Lord, if please help us, fix this situation, heal our daughter, work this thing out for us. I promise I will not be so ridiculous and be complaining or fussing or thinking about wasting my time on these other issues that really have nothing to do with anything. They're not a current problem. It's not a thing. And I am really misbehaving by dwelling in the thoughts on these matters that really aren't that important in the grand scheme of things, and that's very important that we kind of remind ourselves. We shouldn't have to have a catastrophe or a serious emergency happening to rein in our thoughts and our emotions. There's a scripture in the Bible, I'm going to paraphrase, but basically it says that we should pull down every thought, every stronghold in our mind, and bring that thought before Christ Jesus. And if it's a good thought, we keep it. If it's a bad thought, we're supposed to rebuke it out of our mind and stop thinking that thought and think on something that's good. I think it's a different scripture that says think on things that are pure and noble, that are good. The whole scripture. It's really pretty. It's a very nice one. It's like, I think it's in Philippians. I'm not very good with the memory of all those things, but it's in there. And I'll try to post it, and or you can just Google, scriptures on thinking what's good and noble, and it'll come up. Or the scripture on pulling down the strongholds, pulling down the thoughts in our mind and putting them under the subjection of Christ. So, if you don't believe in God, okay, fine. You can still, through logic, and just say science, if you're thinking a negative thing over and over and over again, you do have control of whether or not you keep that thought in your mind and you dwell on it and you like mull it around, or you get rid of it and you express it out and you replace it with something positive. even like motivational speakers and, positive thinking type of things you can listen to that help you to work on that. And it's just, whatever you focus on, you give power. Whatever you focus on, you draw near unto yourself. So if you're thinking of something negative all the time, then you are like manifesting, and I don't like that word, but there's times it's appropriate. You're manifesting negativity, negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative, almost like, and again, I'm not like all into like the whole law of attraction. I think these things have a certain amount of power and place and things like that, but not quite to the degree that if you watch the documentary or film of the law of attraction, it's kind of a little bit too far. So anyway, but the idea is there that, you're drawing unto yourself the thing that you keep thinking about. So there's also a saying that your mind doesn't know the difference between, for example, let me give the example, it'll help explain better. Don't think about the gray rabbit. Okay, so even though you're saying don't think about the gray rabbit, your mind doesn't hear the don't. It just thinks about the gray rabbit. So if there's something negative and you're like, gosh, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. My pastor had said long ago, don't think about the don'ts, think about the do's. Like, okay, do the do's and you won't do the don'ts. Okay. So, if you know that, you're trying to lose weight, right? And you're like, oh, okay, don't eat that cookie. Don't eat that. Don't. Okay. That's, you're focusing too much on the negative. Focus on the do. Okay, have that shake. Go for a walk. Think of the do's. So it's like the more positivity, and that includes your relationship. So instead of thinking about whatever's negative about your husband, oh, at that time, so-and-so time, he did this to me and he did that to me, and I'm still not sure what happened here, or, and he was so irresponsible, he made a bad decision there. And this could be years ago, okay? And that's just how we are. We just carry it around with us. Men seem to move on a lot faster, but so you have to really dead and bury those things. And we're not supposed to keep a scorecard in marriage, especially if you are someone of faith. We're not supposed to go tit for tat and say, well, you did this to me, and I'm going to keep track of your wrongs. We're not supposed to keep track of wrongs. We're supposed to deal with each other as fallen human beings, both under the grace of God, right? And remind ourselves that we might think we're pretty righteous, but we're still fallen and we still mess up, and we may mess up in ways that are different than our husband, but we're still messing up and we're still failing. Okay. So women have a tendency to think of themselves as more righteous than their husbands. Maybe their husband has a weakness with pornography or this or that or the other. We have different weaknesses. And because of that, we'll think, oh, well, I'm better than him. And that's not true. That's not true. So here's the other thing, that at the times when I allowed my emotions to kind of freak out, things in the past, and ask questions now, when there really is nothing worthy of asking any questions about or freaking out about, my husband has told me, when you do that to me, and I've been working my butt off, and all I do is go to work, come home, go to the gym with you, go to work, come home, spend all my time with you, that hurts me. He said, it hurts me. And I'm listening to how you feel, he'll say to me. Now you listen to how I feel, because I feel some kind of way too. When you do this to me, you hurt me. And he's told me in the past, when I was really trying to get over all these different things, he said, I can only take so much. I'm only human. I'm just a man. And when you keep basically attacking me or accusing me of whatever, you're pushing me away from you. Okay. And I'm so grateful that I've listened to men's channels for so long, and I would hear all these men that have really, really tried their best, many of them that were not doing anything wrong, And it was the same kind of thing. Like, women, we got a serious paranoia of like, you're doing something, like we are so afraid. And it's probably because we're into too much drama and we watch too much TV and our girlfriends and whatever. But you know, we create the circumstances that ruin our own relationships, which is why the Godfather would say, you're home wreckers. You know, we're wrecking a home that doesn't need to be wrecked because we are out of control. And so sometimes when we have too much time to think, especially if we happen to be a stay-at-home mom, even though we're busy, we are up in our head, thinking all kinds of stuff, and it's really not for the best. And honestly, I really believe one of the reasons why, you know, they kept women in their place, so to speak. You know, you cook, you clean, you take care of the kids, you mind your business. You don't worry about men's business. You don't worry about this. You don't worry about that, because they wanted the obedience and the discipline of just doing what you're told and what you're supposed to do actually helps to keep the switch off. I must say that I'm trying to say it the best way possible so you understand what I'm saying. When women have too much freedom, too much time, too much of a concept of rights and equality and all this liberation, and there's no boundaries, or like, you know, women shouldn't be thinking things like that and stuff like that. Our mind can just go crazy. It can go so many places and think so many things and really get out of hand. We get really out of control. And I've heard so many women talking, and they live up in their head so much that it's all thoughts. They're always thinking, and we overthink like crazy. We drive ourselves crazy. We drive our family crazy. We drive our husband crazy. And it's like, stop thinking so much and do what you're supposed to do. When you're doing more of what you're supposed to do, you're going to stop thinking so much nonsense. You're going to think, you know, oh, I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to do, not thinking this nonsense. So it's like a combination of pulling thoughts under the subjection of Christ, or your God, or yourself, whatever, you know, pull those thoughts down that are negative, throw them away, okay? Replace them with good thoughts, with whatever it is that you're working on. And one of the things that you can do is your grateful list. You know, I'm grateful that my husband goes to work every day. He works hard. I'm grateful that we overcame that particular challenge that tries to come back and haunt me, you know. Because part of it, or probably a huge part of it, is fear. Fear that something's going to happen again. Fear that we'll be in the same situation again. Fear that we'll be stupid and unprepared. Just fear, you know. Again, the Godfather, God bless, he would talk about that. Fear, lack, and scarcity. You know, it's women's greatest issues, and how we respond and react to life through those filters, which is not helpful. So you've got controlling your thoughts, and doing more positive things than you do negative things. When you're feeling annoyed or upset, or you feel like your feathers are bristled by something your husband said or decided, and you're not happy about it, take a step back, take a breather, and give it some space, okay? Don't respond right away. Think about Esther. If there's any kind of a context clue that can give you like almost like your own safe word, like, you know, woosah, okay, take a step back. You're about to open your mouth and say something that you're going to regret. You're about to attack your husband when he works very hard. He gives you all his love, whatever time and attention and energy that he has. He is a good man, okay? Take a step back, take a breather, go through your list. Make a list if you don't have a list. All the things that your husband does for you, how wonderful he is, and then take it to the next level, okay? Well, continue in your acts of service for your husband, for your family. That is a good way to keep your mind on the right track, okay? Take it to the next level. Two things. One is, how were women supposed to behave in the past, all since the beginning of time? For the most part, it was seen and not heard. You know, do your duty. It doesn't matter what your husband's doing or how he treats you, you know, minus your life is being threatened and he's beating you in the corner, okay? Never condone Physical abuse and violence, domestic discipline is not abuse. It's two consenting adults, safe, sane, consensual. Some spankings on your butt, whatever. Some discipline like taking away your credit cards you spent too much, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. Anyway, but most of us have good men, and the CDC states that women are 50% the aggressors and 71% more likely to hit first. Okay, so we're the ones out of pocket. We're the ones out of control, out of order, and just kind of gotten to where we think we can just say whatever we want, do what we want, and really it's a form of manipulation. We're trying to control and manipulate the situation to make it something that we want it to be, and using every tact possible, which is really like a child. But anyway, so thinking about, my husband's the king of this home. I get blessed, I get good rewards, I get good karma, whatever thought process you need to use to understand when you sow good things, you reap good things. So I'm going to trust my husband. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He has led us this far, even if he overcomes some failures. He's led us this far successfully. I need to trust him. And the more that I trust and believe in him, the more that he steps up into that role, the more that he sees that we believe in him more than he believes in himself, it's like they rise to that occasion. But if you believe less in him than he believes in himself, you can either cause depression in him, or he's going to be having his ear open to some other female who says, oh, wow, she doesn't appreciate you. You work so hard. Look at that. You do everything for your family. And oh, look at those muscles. And I mean, you kidding me? You think they're not out there in all forms, shapes, and sizes and ages? They be out there. And that was the second thing I was going to say, is that I had to a couple times imagine, what if your husband did want to leave you for a younger woman, and here's this gal, and she's 20 years younger than you, and happy and fit and fun and vibrant, full of life and energy, and not so bogged down by the pressures and stress of the world, and just more fun, like the girlfriend experience, right? How would you feel about that? Yeah, I would be very upset. I'd be devastated. And I thought to myself, well, he's not going anywhere. However, it's a good exercise to think, what would your reaction be? I would want to be as fit as possible, happy, cheerful. I would want to be that person that made him feel carefree and more youthful, and just, happy and easygoing, and not so stressed out all the time, like a place of comfort, place of peace, place of happiness and joy, wanting to do fun things, whether it's in the bedroom or out of the bedroom. And I thought, well, that's a goal then. That's a goal that I should have, to not be so weighed down with all the stuff that I probably shouldn't know about what's going on in this world, because it stresses you the hell out. Whew, goodness gracious. Especially when you start learning, look up Ted Gunderson, retired FBI, G. Edward Griffin, the creature from Jekyll Island and the birth of the Federal Reserve, Yuri Bezmenov, I can't say his name right, but it's on the internet. All these different people who have laid out, whew, boy, what the elite people are doing around this world. And just the more knowledge you get, it can be very depressing. So with age, with life kicking your butt, with difficult circumstances, I understand why older women are more burdened, more bitter, more angry at life, more frustrated. Their, weight starts to come on just looking at food. You got all these different things, but we have a choice and we have a chance, as long as we're alive and breathing, to put things back in check and say, these things may be so, but they've always been so, and they will be so till the end of time. Okay, do what you can do about it, but that's not my job. That's not my main job. My main job is my husband, my children, my family, and taking care of myself. So keeping a balance of good nutrition, physical fitness, whatever could be done through the doctors, which apparently isn't a whole lot, bioidentical hormones when the time is right, all these different things. Whatever you can do as a woman, I'd say, pretty much when you turn 40, you better start preparing. You make sure you've done your research. Some women is earlier, some women is later. But either way, it's like a gradual process, of your body's changing and the hormones and everything else. So your mindset is the most important thing. Thinking about, it's one of those things where it's like, if you knew you only had a few weeks to live, God forbid, or your spouse, or you'd only have them for a certain amount of time. Wouldn't you let go of the stupid things that you've both done in the past? Wouldn't you just cherish every moment that you had together? And maybe because I've almost lost my husband to the dangerous work and all these things almost 20 times, I value every day with him. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm grumpy. Sometimes I'm cranky because I'm tired. But I value every day with him. And I tell him daily how much I appreciate him, how incredible he is, how, everything we have is because of him, and if I've been with Ron, sir, if I've been with Ron, God bless. He mentioned something the other day that, sitting in the car, man paid for, headphones, man paid for, absolutely everything. Insurance, phones, the mortgage, our health insurance, literally my entire life has been paid for, since we got married, and even a couple years before that. But, I surrendered, I submitted, and I said, I am yours. And he said, okay, you are mine, and I will take care of you all the days of your life, my life. So he's planned past the point of him leaving the earth, since statistics are he'll go first. And that is a beautiful thing. And so many women don't want to trust and believe that their man would do that for them. But I'm telling you, it is just the beautiful balance of nature if we're willing to do our part. And a lot of times women don't want to be the one to make the first move, but suck it up, buttercup. Someone's got to think of yourself as the bigger person, whatever, but suck it up, do what's right first, and you'll see how quickly. My husband is a stubborn man. He is a roughneck, intimidating, hardcore guy, and he will just melt like a butter, like a soft like a teddy bear inside for me, for his family, mainly for me. But let me act stupid, let me have an attitude for no reason, let me give him grief for no reason, and he will just be like, nope. He will shut it all down in an instant. And it's a protective mechanism for men, and they need that, because if they don't protect themselves, it's not good. It's just not good. And women get upset because they want the man to talk it out, and we need to talk about this, and if he's shutting down and he's walking away, he's trying to save you both from a very bad day, okay? And I heard someone explain it, that when men are going through issues with their woman, their heart is beating like 1,000 beats per minute. I don't remember what the number was, but it was the same speed as if they jumped on a grenade to save everyone, okay? That's the level of intensity that their body's going through when they're in some sort of a situation with you, okay? And because they're a man and you're a woman, he has to shut that down so that something horrible doesn't happen, okay? And it could be blowing up, it could be, some people, especially if the woman gets physical first, it could be bad, whatever. But it's just the fact that the man is trying to protect himself and protect everyone around him from his own strength and his own anger and his own rage, the Hulk that's within every man, the beast, a couple times I've seen the beast when I was pushed it too far, and that was, woo-wee. Lord, I never felt so small in my life. And, it was a few of those nights when we were kind of going back and forth, second wife, girl, this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. And he would get so frustrated with me that he's just like, enough. And, drinking some Crown, and, and he just, literally almost looked like he exploded 1,000 times bigger than he already was, and his eyes would change colors, you know, and they would turn from like a hazel to green with tiny pupils, and just the intensity. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like the Hulk. And even though I knew he wasn't going to physically hurt me, I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's just, that's a man. A man is a man, and we take it for granted because we don't see it all the time or often or at all. But it's in there, and we forget the raw power that a man has. So, you know, when we're having attitudes and we're fussy and we're holding on to things from the past, or we are looking down on them, we have to remember there's a beast inside. There is a monster inside every man. And if he voluntarily keeps that under control, he is a gift. He is a God's gift to you, to your family, to this world, because we need men that are savages under control, under voluntary control, I should say, not under your control, under his control, because that's the same savage, the same monster, the same beast that if someone breaks in, he gonna do what he has to do to save you, okay? You know, protect his family. So we that helps us to have the reverence that we should have, the understanding of why women stayed out of men's business, why we were seen and not heard, why we weren't allowed to just nobody's getting backhanded, okay? I mean, the percentage of women that are abused is so much lower today than it's ever been in the history of the world, at least in Western countries, okay? You know, and we take it for granted. We take for granted that, of course, he's not supposed to hit me. Well, you know, Sean Connery, God rest his soul, because he did pass away recently, right? I think he was like 90. Pretty sure. God, he's one of my heroes. I love Sean Connery. He's a fantastic actor and just such a gentleman. And even Barbara Walters did an interview with him where she said, you know what I'm going to ask you? And he's like, no. With his fabulous accent. I wish I could do it. Kevin Samuels did his accent one time. It was fantastic. Anyway, and she said, well, you said if a woman's out of control that you should just give her a little slap. And she said, do you still take that stand? And he said, yes. And she's like, oh, you're going to get a lot of letters, you know. And he's like, you know, he said, have you ever dealt with a woman that's out of control? You know that they're just ridiculous, basically. I'm going to paraphrase. You know, they're inconsolable, just totally out of order, chaos. They freak out. They won't let you go. They'll keep pestering you and pestering you and bothering you and bothering you because they're pushing you for a reaction. And sometimes they're so out of their freaking minds. You know, I'm not condoning violence. I'm just making a statement that that's the way it used to be. And some women want you to. God, I'm going to get kicked off the internet. I'm just telling you, if you watch enough videos that men have recorded their chicks, they're like, hit me, hit me. I mean, they're testing them to the limits because their daddy never gave them a whooping when they were kids and put some borders and boundaries and restraints on their daughters. They're seeking and searching desperately for a man that will sit there down and make them listen. And it's the truth. It's just the truth. I don't know what else to say. You know, whatever. Look, statistics prove me right. You know, there are the few that are the timid little, you know, sweet creatures that would never raise their voice or hurt a fly. And if they're misused or abused or hit or it's not necessary and unacceptable. Okay, I get that. There's a few like that. How many women do you know like that? Even me, who I worship the ground my husband walks on. Okay, I don't think anybody could see me, talk to me, know me, and call me weak, call me a doormat, call me, you know, some sort of timid little abused woman. It's not even close. It's not even possible. It's just not. I'm a strong woman in my own right, but I know my place, and my husband is 1,000, if not more, times stronger than I am, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything about him. He knows how to stick to the straight line. He doesn't get wavered by emotions, you know. and whichever way the wind blows and how he feels. And that's why he's been so disciplined and why he's kept an amazing body all these years. He's been busting ass since he was 14 years old, you know. He's been disciplined his entire life versus me. I'm disciplined, I'm not disciplined. I'm disciplined, I'm not disciplined. Going by my emotions and my cycle and the time of month and how the moon is shining tonight. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We're ridiculous. And that's why there were firm boundaries for women. That's just the way it is. So all of that to say, to remember our place as a wife, to remember we're his helpmeet. That's what we're there for. We are in a hierarchy and our husband is head. So he's the one that would fight off the bad guy in the middle of the night or step in front of a bullet for you. You know, not to say you couldn't go around the back room, get the other gun and help out, but you know, it's not your primary job and it's not your primary instinct. It's your husband's. And every other reason, you know, he is your man, he is the man, and the more that you make him feel like a man and treat him like a man and let him be the man, which he's going to be anyway, but, you know, without the joke of, you don't want your husband to be the joke where his friends are like, oh yeah, you know, Sally's got your nuts in her purse, doesn't she? You know, I mean, stuff like that. That's no. You don't want that to be your relationship. That is horrible. She keeps them in a jar next to the bed, right? I mean, it's just, it's brutal. Guys are brutal to each other for a reason. They will call each other out. And I've always thought it kind of funny, fascinating, and cute that I'd get complaints from women whose husbands hung out with my husband. They wanted them to hang out with my husband because they know he's a good man. They hear he's a good man. They see the way that he runs his household, treats me. I'm happy. And then the thing that's funny that happens is they hang out with him for a little while. They come home all dominant and, you know, masculine, full of testosterone and like, hey, you know, this is how we're going to do it, woman, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, who are you? They're like, I don't know if I like my husband hanging out with your husband. He comes home all dominant, like, and aggressive, like, this is how we're going to do things. And I'm like, that's what you want, honey. That's what you want. So anyway, this is a really long message, but I'm just saying, listen, we can't have the strong man without the aggressiveness. We can't have a dominant man that handles his business without him putting you in your place. And if he's kind to you, because my husband's very kind to me, he's very sweet to me, loving, call me beautiful every day, all those kind of wonderful things, okay? But don't piss him off, all right? So, you know, if he does those things, don't take it for granted. Don't take him for granted. Imagine him being fed up with your crap and going off with some, you know, I don't know, I'm almost 50, so 30-year-old chick, 25-year-old chick, 27, whatever. That's 20 years younger than me. You know, and just going and enjoying his life and saying, bump it. You know what? Just here's half and go live your life and leave me alone. I'm tired of your negativity. I'm tired of trying and feeling like it's not good enough for you. You have to put yourself through those imaginary, since we love to fantasize anyway, we want to dream anyway, think of all these things anyway, put yourself through the what if of the worst case scenario and take it as a lesson of, I don't want to do that to my husband. I don't want to push him away. I want him to be happy with me. I want to give him the best that I have. And if we didn't make it awake tomorrow, okay, would I be happy with, proud of the way I treated my husband and my family today, okay? So do your best. If there's unresolved issues that you have, get some counseling. Women seem to do better with counseling than most men. Men can usually talk to each other and grunt a little, have a couple beers, and they're good. Maybe with or without the beers, whatever. But it's just the fact that we tend to need to talk things out. We need to process things. And you need the right person to process those things with, give you an objective view, a better view, and help you to kind of move along. So if you need to, do that. You know, and that's what I have to say. So I got to go, guys, but have a wonderful day. The better you treat him, the better he's going to treat you. And if you have a bad attitude, I mean, you know, you can always work on a little smack on the bum. Say, I need the pow, you know, whatever. You come up with some little code words for each other. And, you know, it is an exercise in the dominance and submission there. So you might feel silly, and who knows, maybe you get some giggles in, but it changes the mood of things. It's a little lighthearted. It doesn't have to be so severe. It can be just a little more playful, and, I'm going to get your butt, and then you're like, okay, daddy, and you get your attitude right. So it doesn't have to be to the extreme all the time, but it's just a reminder to get yourself in the right place, look at him through the right eyes, and just do your best. Give each other your best. We're both imperfect and we're fallen people, and we're just trying to make it together for ourselves and for our family. And being out here in the streets, and I mean being a single woman anywhere in their middle age, is not acceptable. God forbid. If you have a decent man, he's trying, the worst thing you could ever do is leave and then go and want to be out here trying to date anyone is a disgusting thought. It's just, no. It would be the biggest mistake of your life. And I've heard so many women say, no one ever loved me like my first husband. No one's ever loved me the same way as that first man that I was with. So always exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, that's the case. And, it is what it is. So this man's loved you for years. Hold on to him tight, appreciate him, and don't take him for granted. All right. Ciao, guys. Love you. Bye.